May 1st, 1990. A 911 call comes in from a quiet New Hampshire neighborhood. A young woman arrives home to find her husband shot in the head. She's hysterical. She's devastated. She's the perfect grieving widow. This is Pamela Smart, 22 years old, high school media coordinator. And according to police, she didn't just find her husband's body, she orchestrated his murder. Using a 15-year-old boy she seduced, who she manipulated, who she convinced to pull the trigger. And the most insane part, the entire conspiracy was caught on tape. This is the story of Pamela Smart, the woman who wanted freedom so badly, she convinced a child to kill for her. Stay with me. Before we dive into the case, let's talk about what's at stake here. Because this isn't just a murder case. It's a story about predatory manipulation, betrayal, and a media circus that changed American crime coverage forever. Gregory Smart, 24 years old, insurance salesman, newlywed, shot execution style in his own home. He trusted his wife. He loved her, and she used a teenager to end his life. Pamela Smart was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She's been behind bars for 34 years, and she still claims she's innocent. Billy Flynn, 15 years old when he pulled the trigger. He was released after 25 years. He's a free man now. The woman who groomed him to do it, she'll die in prison. In this case, it became the first fully televised murder trial in American history. It inspired movies, documentaries, even an episode of Law & Order. Nicole Kidman played Pamela in a film called To Die For. So how does a small-town teacher become one of the most infamous murderers in American history? Let's rewind. Pamela Wohlhuis met Gregory Smart in 1986. She was 19, working at a local radio station. He was 21, charming, stable, ambitious. They fell hard, got engaged within a year, married in May 1989. Friends say they seemed perfect together, the all-American couple. By 1990, Pamela had landed her dream job, media coordinator at Winnacunnet High School in Hampton, New Hampshire. She taught kids how to use cameras, edit video, run the school's media programs. She was young, attractive, and ambitious. Students loved her. She was the cool teacher. But behind closed doors, the marriage was falling apart. Greg wanted kids. Pamela didn't. Not yet. She wanted a career in media, maybe TV news. She felt trapped in suburban New Hampshire. They fought constantly about money, about the future, about Greg's partying. And then Pamela found out Greg had cheated on her. She was furious, humiliated, but instead of leaving him, she started planning something else. Enter Billy Flynn, 15 years old, sophomore at Winnacunnet High, quiet kid, came from a rough home, and had a massive crush on his media coordinator. In late 1989, Pamela started paying extra attention to Billy. She'd keep him after class, ask him about his life, confide in him about her marriage problems. And then, in January 1990, it escalated. According to Billy's later testimony, Pamela invited him to her apartment when Greg was out of town. They had sex. Billy was 15. Pamela was 22 and his teacher. Over the next few months, the affair continued. Pamela told Billy she loved him, that Greg was abusive, that she wanted to be with him, but her husband was standing in the way. And then she planted the seed. What if something happened to Greg? What if he just wasn't around anymore? Billy thought she was joking at first, but Pamela kept bringing it up, again and again and again. And here's where it gets truly disturbing. Pamela recruited Billy's friends to help. She promised them she'd run away with Billy after Greg was dead, that they'd start a new life together. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was premeditated murder. And Pamela Smart was the architect. May 1st, 1990. Pamela tells Greg she has a work meeting that night. She leaves the house around 6 p.m. What Greg doesn't know is that Pamela has left the door unlocked. and 3 teenagers are waiting in the parking lot. Billy Flynn, age 15, Pete Randall, age 17, Vance Latimer, age 18. They're armed with a .38 caliber revolver. At 10 p.m., they enter the condo. Greg is in the living room, alone, watching TV. Billy walks up behind him, puts the gun to his head, and fires. Greg Smart dies instantly. He's 24 years old. The boys ransack the place to make it look like a robbery. They steal a few items, and then they run. 2 hours later, Pamela comes home. She calls 911. She's screaming, sobbing, hysterical. She tells police she came home from her meeting and found her husband dead. She's the perfect grieving widow. At first, police believe her. It looks like a robbery gone wrong. The door was forced open. Items were missing. Pamela has an alibi. But within 48 hours, things start to unravel. Detectives notice something odd. The forced entry looked staged. The lock wasn't broken. It was unlocked from the inside. And the items that were stolen? They're random, not valuable. And then there's Pamela's behavior. She's grieving, sure, but she's also performing. At Greg's funeral, she's on camera constantly, talking to reporters. Makeup perfect. Hair perfect. She even does a TV interview 3 days after the murder. Something doesn't feel right. And then, 2 weeks after her murder, police get a tip. An anonymous caller says they should look into Pamela's students. Specifically, a boy named Billy Flynn. Now here's where the case takes a turn that feels like something out of a crime thriller. Police bring in Cecilia Pierce, Pamela's close friend and co-worker, and Cecilia tells them something explosive. She says Pamela confided in her, told her she wanted Greg dead, that she was sleeping with a student, that she'd manipulated him into doing it. But here's the problem. It's hearsay. Without evidence, it's just one woman's word against another. So police ask Cecilia to do something insane. They ask her to wear a wire. For weeks, Cecilia records her conversations with Pamela. And Pamela, she talks. She brags. She admits to manipulating Billy. She laughs about Greg's death. One recording captures Pamela saying, "He thinks we're going to be together, like I'm really going to run away with a 15-year-old. Pamela Smart just confessed to murder. On tape. In August 1990, 3 months after Greg's murder, police arrest Billy Flynn, Pete Randall, and Vance Latimer. Billy cracks almost immediately. He gives a full confession, says Pamela seduced him, manipulated him, told him Greg was abusive, and that killing him was the only way they could be together. Pete and Vance corroborate the story. All 3 agree to testify against Pamela in exchange for reduced sentences. On August 1st, 1990, Pamela Smart is arrested at her school. She's charged with conspiracy to commit murder, accomplice to first-degree murder, and witness tampering. She pleads guilty, claims Billy is lying, that he killed Greg on his own and is now trying to frame her. But the wiretap recordings say otherwise. And the trial? It's about to become a media sensation. March 1991. The trial begins in Rockingham County Superior Court. And it's unlike anything America has seen before. This is the first fully televised murder trial in U.S. history. Court TV broadcasts every moment. CNN, NBC, ABC. Everyone's covering it. The nation is obsessed. Why? Because Pamela Smart is young, attractive, and accused of seducing a teenage boy to commit murder. It's salacious. It's scandalous. It's ratings gold. Tabloids call her the Ice Queen, the Black Widow, the seductress teacher. And Pamela, she leans into it. She dresses like she's going to a photo shoot. Designer outfits, pearl earrings, hair styled to perfection. She's not just on trial. She's performing. The prosecution's case is devastating. They present the wiretap recordings, hours of Pamela admitting to the affair, laughing about manipulating Billy, showing zero remorse for Greg's death. In one recording, Pamela says, "If you tell a kid you love him, he'll do anything for you." Jurors are visibly disturbed. And then Billy Flynn takes the stand. He's 16 now. He's already pleaded guilty and is serving 28 years to life. Billy testifies that Pamela seduced him, that she told him Greg was abusive, that she said killing him was the only way they could be together. He describes how Pamela coached him on what to do, how to make it look like a robbery, where to shoot Greg, how to cover their tracks. And then the prosecutor asks the question that defines the entire trial. Did you love her? Billy pauses. His voice cracks. Yes, I loved her. I thought she loved me too. The courtroom is silent. Billy starts crying. Even some jurors tear up. Pamela doesn't react. She just sits there, cold, detached. So how does Pamela's defense counter this mountain of evidence? They go with a simple strategy. Billy Flynn is a liar. They argue that Billy killed Greg out of jealousy, that he was obsessed with Pamela and acted on his own, that he's now lying to save himself from a harsher sentence. Pamela takes the stand. She admits to the affair. She has no choice. It's on tape. But she denies ever asking Billy to kill Greg. "I made a mistake. I had an affair, but I never asked anyone to hurt my husband." Billy is lying to get a lighter sentence. But the defense has a problem. A big problem. The wiretap recordings directly contradict her testimony. On tape, Pamela admits to manipulating Billy. She admits to planning the murder. She even jokes about it. The jury isn't buying it. After 13 hours of deliberation, the jury reaches a verdict. March 22, 1991. The courtroom is packed. Cameras are rolling. The entire country is watching. The clerk reads the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Greg's family breaks down in tears. Pamela's mother screams, "No!" Pamela herself? She doesn't move. She just stares straight ahead, blank, emotionless. The judge sentences her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Pamela Smart, 23 years old, will die behind bars. And then the judge speaks, and his words are brutal. Judge Douglas Gray didn't hold back, and what he said became one of the most quoted sentencing statements in American legal history. "Mrs. Smart, you are perhaps the most dangerous kind of criminal. You manipulated a child. You exploited his youth, his insecurity, his love for you. You used him as a weapon. And when that weapon was no longer useful, you tried to throw him away." He continued, "You showed no remorse, no empathy, no humanity. You cared only about yourself, your image, your career, your freedom. And in pursuit of that, you ended a man's life and destroyed a boy's future. You will spend the rest of your life in prison, and that is exactly where you belong." The courtroom was silent. Even reporters stopped writing. Pamela was led out in handcuffs. She never looked at Greg's family. She never apologized. She just left. So what happened to the teenagers? Billy Flynn served 25 years. He was released in 2015. He's now in his late 40s, married, and works as a carpenter. In interviews, he's expressed deep remorse. He said, "I was a stupid kid who thought I was in love. I destroyed lives. I'll carry that forever." Pete Randall and Vance Latimer also served time. Pete was paroled in 2005. Vance served 18 years and was released in 2009. All three have stayed out of trouble since their release. Cecilia Pierce, the woman who wore the wire, testified at trial and was never charged. She lives quietly in New Hampshire. And Pamela Smart, she's 56 years old. She's been in prison for 34 years. She's currently serving her sentence at the Bedford Hills Correctional Facility in New York. She's earned a master's degree. She teaches other inmates. She's been a model prisoner, but she still claims she's innocent. She's filed multiple appeals, all denied. She's done countless interviews from prison, insisting Billy Flynn acted alone and that she's a victim of media sensationalism. In 2022, she filed for a sentence reduction, citing her age at the time of the crime and her rehabilitation. It was denied. Pamela Smart will die in prison. So what do we take away from this? Pamela Smart was a teacher, someone kids were supposed to trust, someone who was supposed to guide them, protect them, help them grow. Instead, she preyed on a vulnerable 15-year-old boy. She groomed him, manipulated him, used him to commit murder. And when it was over, she tried to throw him away. This case changed how we talk about teacher misconduct, about manipulation, about the power dynamics between adults and minors. New Hampshire strengthened its laws around teacher-student relationships. Mandatory reporting requirements were expanded, and this case became a textbook example of predatory grooming. But here's the question that still haunts people. Was Pamela Smart born a manipulator? Or did the pressure to maintain a perfect image, the marriage, the career, the life, push her over the edge? Psychologists who studied the case say that Pamela exhibits traits of narcissistic personality disorder. She couldn't handle the idea of failure, of being exposed, of losing control. And in the end, a 24-year-old man is dead. 3 teenagers' lives are destroyed. Families were shattered, all because one woman wouldn't admit her marriage was over. All right, I need to hear from you. Polls running right now. Should Pamela Smart ever be released? Yes, no, or unsure? Cast your vote. And here's the big question for the comments. Do you think a 15-year-old can truly consent to a relationship with an adult authority figure? Or was Billy Flynn as much a victim as Greg Smart? Because that's the debate that's raged for 34 years. Some people say Billy was old enough to know right from wrong. Others say he was groomed by a predator and never stood a chance. Drop your thoughts below. I'll be reading through them. And if you want to watch more cases like this, next time we're covering the TikToker who staged a car crash for clout and ended up charged with murder. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Because here's the truth. Pamela Smart wanted to be famous. She wanted the spotlight. She wanted control. She got all 3, just not the way she planned.